Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Vayikra. First to start, before anything, I don't have the English book, the Nar Shalom, but over there I make objection to the Indian that we all know. That the Gemara says you're supposed to learn Vayikra with little children. Why they should have Tahirim should come b'Isaac b'Tyrus. Now it's okay. What does that mean? So you have most places start with Parshas without any gimmicks, and there's some people that want to adhere to this thing, and they learn the first pasuk of Vayikra, and then they go to Parshas, or at maximum. The first parsha. I've never heard anyone going, not the first Sedra, the first parsha, meaning the parsha of Oylas Boko. And that's the maximum I ever heard. I never heard anyone doing more than that. And the kasha is, first of all, why is the Gemara make an issue of it? And are they being frum with this idea or not? And I think that they're not being frum at all with it. And I think they may be, if they want to listen to Chazal, and they feel they could subvert, to undermine Chazal by saying, I listen a little bit. It sounds like the Oretz when they told them it has each one they taste like it. They pay tam pirioi. In other words, and the only one that listened was the Palpul and the Esrig, and that's why the Esrig is the Esrig. Is somehow the Oretz was punished when the Benjamin said that by Odom Rishon that they gave the klola to the Oretz. So there seems to be a point that you just Yetzizayin with that is a big avla. So that's what they try to do, maybe even a bigger avla. I don't know. I can't answer that. I won't say it, but But the question is, why did Chazal want you to do it? And I think that is because the trouble that we have in this world, we're going to discuss this in the beginning. I gave in there 11 Musa things that young kids should learn about. And they, I hold, would protect a kid from becoming a ganef and the false hashkofis like that, because if he believes that everything's been a shemayim and all these things which he should learn from Vayikra, if he would learn that, then he wouldn't have these nisyonis. It's when you throw a kid into the world and all of a sudden, I need that, I'd like that, I want that, and I don't have it, so he's going to take it. So then we have a problem. But if he knows that I can't take it, or it's not going to help me taking it, which is what we're going to be talking about, so then all of a sudden, he doesn't have a Yetzer Hara for it. If he doesn't have a Yetzer Hara for it, you may have an Yetzer Hara for the thing, but not because it's yours. You don't have a Yetzer Hara for yours. And they would have protected him and stuff like that. And that's what they don't do. They don't learn with them what they're supposed to be to help them protect them from falling. That's what the Rebbeinu wants. Teach a Torah, teach him the madrega that we want to hear, and then he won't sin at all. So Baruch Hashem, and we don't do that, unfortunately, because it's more interesting, Bereshis, we think, but we don't have the answers for all the questions the poor kids have. Anyway, Vayikra starts off with a small aleph. Vayikra with a small aleph, and the reason for this is that the Rebbeinu wanted to write Vayikra. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to write the aleph. He wanted to write Vayokor, which means he met him, which is the lashon that's used by Bilam. Not a dignified lashon. We just bumped into each other. Vayikra means I called him like a friend calls you, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want that you should know the difference as a novi. The thing that it's not negated difference. It can be the smallest novi in the world also. But my nevuah is Teirah, and nobody else's nevuah is Teirah, so therefore you got to listen to my nevuah. It has nothing to do with the madrega of nevuah that it came from, and the thing there. So why was it important to put an aleph. That's the point of telling that the Rebbeinu Shalom is Adon HaNeviim. What does people have to know that for? It's not negate anything. And you see, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't tell anybody, and even tell his sister and Aaron and his brother that he's Pel Peh, because they asked the question Gambonadi by Hashem. So obviously they didn't know that he was a Ma'am thing. And go for by, that's where the Torah tells you, is by the place where they spoke Lashon Hara about him, because they didn't know that he was different. They should have figured it out. That may be true, but they didn't know that he was big, and he never told them. And so therefore that's a Zaniyah of Anovi. You don't brag about something of a Matrigi you reach if it's not negated to anything. Therefore the Gemara, Talmud Chacham denies we know certain things. Why? Because it's not negated to know it. So therefore, why am I not nafkamina? You've had a shayla, ask me. You're not asking me a shayla. You just want to know what I know. My nafkamina. So I tell you, I don't know. So that's the same thing. So that seems to be Moshe Rabbeinu's time. So he wrote. So he didn't want to write an aleph at all. So Benjamin told him, you better write the aleph, but I want you to write it small. Now it's even worse than before. Before Vayikra, if it would just say Vayikra, I wouldn't even have known there's such a thing of Vayoko. I mean, I'll get maybe to Kairach and say, not the Kairach, to Balak, and if I say Balak and know by Bilam, he's got the thing there, Vayoko, and here it says Vayikra, oh, it must be a difference in the Nevuah, and that's what the Ben Shem's telling me, there's such a thing, difference in the Nevuahs. But I wouldn't even, and the truth is, you probably wouldn't have noticed it anyway. And you wouldn't know there's a difference between Vayoko and Vayikra. So I wouldn't have to answer it. But now, in the little olive, why is the little olive? Right? That's the first question you ask. So you're drawing your attention to the question, and all of a sudden Rashi tells you, oh, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be an Anum, God didn't let him be an Anum. And so there's a bigger guy. Now I'm really bragging. I'm such a good guy that I tried to even hide it, and then God doesn't even let me do that. You know, it's a bigger guy. The Tanya, no, it wasn't that. The Beishon wants us to know an Indian of it. Should have Vayikra would have been enough. Obviously, the Beishon knew he was going to write a little aleph from the point because Moshe Rabbeinu is not going to let the thing go through. And therefore, what he wanted to, I want you to know who Moshe Rabbeinu is. There's different Nevi'im that I gave Nevuah to. Of course, they have to reach a certain madrega, maybe. Bilam, I don't know if he had to reach such a madrega. I don't know. Maybe Hashem gave Nevuah to certain goyim without a madrega. It could be. I don't know. It would only be a question of Bilam and Be'er. His father probably, and what do you call it? You find that Lavan was a Navi, right? The nation spoke to him, right, and the thing there because he wanted to threaten him away. So that doesn't make him a holy man. Doesn't make him anything special about him. So therefore, not every Navi is special, but a Yiddish Navi, a Navi that works on his midas and he works on his things, which is what the Rambam says the Navi has to do, and he's Chacham Gadol. So that guy is training to be a Navi. And they used to have Bnei Nevi'im. They used to have yeshivas for guys who wanted to be Nevi'im. Okay, so good. So they taught you how to be a Navi, how to act like a Navi, how to get to be a Navi. Okay, what my list they needed on them. That's what he was. So I think what the Torah is trying to tell you is this point that that's his Nevi'im that reached that madrega, that Moshe Rabbeinu was not a Vayoko person, he was a Vayikra person, and it's important for you to know that his Torah, that his Nevuah was earned. He worked on it, he became who he became. Not because that was who Moshe Rabbeinu was, not that I gave him a gift. Okay. Anyway, he said that and you should tell him about, you should make a korban. What's a korban mean? A korban doesn't mean, we use the expression, it's an English word, sacrifices. And we may even use a lashon and misunderstand it when we say there was 6 million korbanos in the Second World War, right? So it means we had 6 million sacrifices in that. But there's a big difference in translation. The word sacrifice means I give up something for something else. I believe in God, and I want to give him something. I want to sacrifice something for myself so he can feel that I like him or whatever it is that he wants. Now, it's like a gift. So therefore, why are you giving a gift to somebody? Is it costs you? Why do you have to spend money on a gift to somebody else? All of us, I want him to know how much I like him. So the same thing, I bring a korban, I want God to know how much I like him. So that's called a sacrifice. Okay. So then, sacrifice means a loss. 6 million sacrifices, 6 million losses. But the word korban doesn't come from that word. Korban comes from the word from korev, from coming close. In other words, a korban it makes me get closer to God, have a big relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So then, the reason maybe we're teaching korban is because the word sacrifice, or maybe not. Maybe we mean that we gave 6 million korbanos take. With that God, whatever it is, our relationship with God, that we're His nation, is what it cost us take the 6 million people, but it made us His nation that He made it that we're going to exist and we're going to grow and we're going to become great and the Mashiach is coming and everything else, and the whole world knows that. As soil, whatever it is, to a certain extent, the world is impressed. So obviously they realize God did something here. Now these were the guys that were being killed by Hitler for being the parasites of humanity, and all of a sudden they're the biggest guys around in the world. They're the most medicine and the most, went with the internet if you want or not, but or thing there, and it has a pretty stark army, which is something to think there. Did it for a reason, I don't know. But there it could be the word korbanos means thanking. It made a different relationship between us and God. Anyway, it's always the kasha why we bring in these korbanos. What's that? There has to be a big lesson in korban. I mean, it's not. I mean, yes, you got to spend a lot of money on it. So we have several questions here by him. First of all, you have at least 4 levels of a korban oila. You have the baka, the seh, the soyer, and the oif. Those are the 4 levels that you have. They have a difference in price in all of them. One lower than the others. But they're all a korban. You know, there's echramar b'echramam b'valchi yikabel libel hashemayim. It doesn't really make a difference. But hey, if I can't afford a bird, maybe I have to make a sheep. But I didn't tell you to bring the most expensive sheep. I told you to bring a sheep, as long as it's not a balmum and stuff like that, and you can bring it. So why was it necessary to lower the level and stuff like that? So I want to tell you that it could be like this, that the point of an oila is also a very strange thing, is that the fact that we burn everything. Every other korban that we bring, the Kohen at least eats whatever can be eaten. The stuff that can't be eaten, you mechuyev to burn on mizbeach. With the chaylev and the stuff and the kloyes and stuff like that. The echutz for certain chatos and that Hank keeps this. Except for certain chatos that have to burn it outside the machan, and we'll talk about them also. But Lamaisa, that's because they somehow were a little bit too holy for a person to be able to eat. In other words, we'll have to say what that means. An oila is a regular korban that everyone brings. Every year is mechuyev to bring a suya, every yontif we go. So we have to bring at least 3 a year without any shayla and stuff like that. And because we had to do all these things, so a person was forced to bring an oila. If he's forced to bring an oila, there has to be something he's going to learn from it. So normally we know an oila also is mechaper for esses that you didn't do. Okay, how do you know I didn't do any? I need to bring a korban. I mean, then I didn't need it. It's impossible. It's how guy had to some goof somewhere on some essay, not necessarily not to do the essay, but in the quality of the essay, because a lav is clear. You do it or don't do it. It's black and white. An essay is how you do it. So that can be different grades already. And so therefore, that will maybe it's not in the Parshas, but we'll see. We'll talk about it. I want to tie in it. A person says he believes that God is a noisen. Everything I have comes from God, right? It seems to be okay, very nice. Do you really believe that? Well, I think I do. When will I come to the problem of finding out if I do or I don't? I'll find out when I'll get to a nisoyan of how I stand up to the nisoyan, and I'll know that I really believe, I didn't believe. In most cases, probably you'll flunk. But you really think that since the case doesn't come every month again, so therefore I can fool myself for many years. An oila is a way of doing a deed, a maaseh, not just a dibur of expressing the same thing, that everything I have is from God. What it's telling is like this. Take something that to you is a loss. It could be a bako, which obviously is a rich man. Let's talk about more of an Indian. A poorer man. A soyer is a poor man, an oif is a poor man, mamish. I don't care any korban you want, I'm not anything, but there has to be something that you will feel a loss if you lost it. And you're saying, I bring as a korban, meaning I want to show you that I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and everything, that's why it's a korban. I'm dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is that I truly believe. Why? Because I'm taking something that to me would normally be a loss, and I'm happily doing it. And so how you doing it? How does it express this feeling? Because if God really wants me to have it, He'll give me another one. But if He doesn't want me to have it, I won't get it. So I truly am willing to accept the Gzeras HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I believe that everything He's going to give me whatever I need. Okay, so wonderful guy. He's doing it. And he takes the behem and he starts to shecht it. And once the behem is like geschochten, it took 1 second, to shecht the behem, doesn't take long, all of a sudden he says, oh no, $1,000 down the drain. And the thing over there, he just flunked his dust. Whereas all of a sudden, you don't believe it so far. You just thought you did, but you don't. So by an act, you know clearly right away if you really believe or you don't believe. That's the point of the act, why it's important, the act. So I can notice. But now that you puzzle the korban, so why you allowed to back market it? So the idea is this attempt is a valid attempt. We want people to keep trying. We want you to prove yourself and to become greater and better and whatever it is there. So therefore you have to keep testing yourself. If you don't test yourself, you'll never know if you got there. And therefore you may be safe as far as you're knowing, but you're not safe as far as really being anybody. So therefore it's not a good thing. And we find this by the counting kisisa, that as you keep counting, on one hand it's a chesed v'kippurim, on the other hand it counts. And we explained there that really God wants to know how many good guys He's got, and He wants you to count, except that pshat is I may not be in that madrega, so I'm going to fail. But I want you to keep trying, because as you keep trying, you may grow. That's the point. The same thing goes with benching. Some people can show hakol satoy for kizayis or kibeya. So the Rabbanim made a law that everybody has to bench for kizayis, because maybe they too will reach that madrega of being able to be thankful for it. And the Torah Zikr did is, if you're thankful, you're mechuyev to show it, and you're mechuyev to bench. That's the amazing. So there's a question of improvement, and this can be shown only by a thing which is completely destruction of. You'll say you destroy something with that logic. Like this is about tashchus, and here the attack is because it's a korban. If it wouldn't be a korban, it would be about tashchus. You're wasting a cow and stuff like this. But the Torah gives you a way that we can grow in the thing of Avodas Hashem. Okay. Okay, and this is okay. And the difference about it goes for whatever each person considers choshev. Okay. this only works, though, and that's why, you know, you have the Reform, and others, when they take a tzei out of the Shemoneh Esrei, when they were still davening, supposedly, they took a tzei out of Shemoneh Esrei because for Heshivas HaAvodah, they will get the Avodah back again. They believe it's barbaric, so, you know, sacrificing animals and stuff like that. The Torah is evolving. In other words, the Torah is barbaric yet. They're deciding that the Torah is barbaric. Humans are more rachmanistic than the Torah is. Okay, that's why the Beishim does destroy Tzedom. That's why he's destroying them, or they're destroyed already. There aren't any of them. But what's pshatak in such an idea? That a korban is a living thing. Anyone who has a pet can tell you that you know, that no matter what they do for the pet, they can feed it, they can take it to the vet, they can do this. If the Beishim wants to kill it, it's dead. There's no way they can protect against dying. That's the thing, Metzias. I can't protect against it. So it's not in our hands. But I can do anything else I want to try. So in business, if you want to say that everything belongs to me, or everything belongs to Hashem, that He caused everything, you know, you have all stores, the philosophy that for two competitors, we really should stay away from each other, right? We sell the same things. Macy's and Gimbals, they used to be whatever it was. They probably each one had certain things the other one didn't have. But normally, if we have both selling the same thing, I have my block over there, and you're a mile away from me, so you open up your store, and I have my customers, you have your customers. On the east side, years ago, all the electronic stores were on one block. All the matzah bakery stores were on one block. All the tinsmiths were on one block. Why are you on one block? You should spread out. The butchers were on one block. They didn't know, because it doesn't make a difference. They can do whatever they want. They can advertise. They can make a nice store. They can make this thing, be polite. If you're coming into that store or not, that's up to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Give you the idea to go into my store instead of his store, gives me the parnasa, that's the Rebbeinu Shalom put into your head. The difference in price was about a quarter difference, the maximum, between one over the other. So there was no reason why anyway you should go into one store over the other one, except the fact is, that's where I want to go. So that the Rebbeinu Shalom does, right? But sometimes you'll think that's good. I understand that. The Rebbeinu Shalom has to put the das into the guy to come into the store. But what about something that's my sweat and blood? I'm a ditch digger. That takes keches, that takes physical things there. In that case, it's mine. It's not God's. I did it. So that is the bring of korban mincha. If you bring your korban mincha, that means you recognize that the work, the yud aleph malachas that it takes to make bread, I have to do. And if I knew that, and if I did it, and I feel I did it, and I still claim it's God's, so then I'm a great guy. And I'm even greater than the guy who brought the cow. Because the guy who brought the cow only realizes in things that way I have no control over it. But where I have control, that's mine. So there was once upon a time, before the Meraglim, it was considered too much madregas. A guy can be madrega of an oila, but he didn't reach the madrega of a shlomim, of a mincha. Came along after the Chet Meraglim, the deceiver. When you come to Eretz Yisrael, every oila you bring will have to have with it a mincha. Meaning that if you reach the madrega of an oila, then you must reach the madrega of a mincha at the same time. If you can't, don't bring the oila. I don't want your oila. I want complete recognition of the fact that I got, and I also want a commitment on your part that you want to enjoy it, and therefore you're making sochem also. That you're able to live with this hashkafa. And that's what I want your dedication to be. And if you can't do it, don't bring it. So that's the mincha. Okay. And a mincha is also a tremendous dedication, as we say, more so than the oila, where you're truly recognizing everything you have, everything you possess, every keach you have is also Zman HaShemayim. So from that, we can understand that no one can eat it except the Kohen. Because the Kohen represents God. That's his chelik. Right? It's God's chelik. Everything I gave to everything they give to me, you can have. So therefore the Vayikra gave him. But we're going to see there's a Kohen Vayikra was in is it Minchas Kohen? It should be that no one's allowed to eat it. And that one it says that they can't eat, no one can eat it. It has to be burnt completely. Just trying to see where the pussy is. It's here already. But I don't find it at the moment. Okay, so it says that the time for that is that even that if a Kohen is bringing it, the one who represents God is bringing with his dedication. There's not shaykh anybody, even someone with that comes from the Torah's God. You know, can't eat it. It's because we're equal. And you can't be the guy that's going to eat for my dedication of my nefesh. The nefesh kisakse, from now it's done by this identity that everything I have, everything is God's. It's a different thing. It also says kol what do you call it? What do you call honey? The old vegetables. You know, I remarked on the Mizbeach. That's because that's made for an improvement. You want to improve on God. In other words, you're mixing a new ingredient into the thing, which makes it sweeter. In other words, it's devash. Or when it rises, you get more money out of it. That you can make a bigger number out of it. Like the Shiur once explained to me, that 100 pounds of flour to make matzah will only produce 90 pounds of matzah. Because the hot flame will burn up the liquid that's in the flour and you lose 10 pounds. On the other hand, if you make pumice, you got to put more. Now with 100 pounds of flour will produce about 140 pounds of bread. Because the liquid stays in the bread, and what do you call it? That's because it rises and it maintains it and doesn't give it out again. So when it bakes slowly, a smaller fire, whatever it is, the different type of fire. I mean, bake matzah. Matzah is very high flame, very hot flame, so on and so. Okay. Now you bring a shlomim. And what's a shlomim do? The Gemara says that it brings shalom and everything. Everyone shares in it. God gets a chelik. Hanim get a chelik. Yisrael get a chelik. Okay. But again, what's it really teaching me? Fine, we bring shalom. Everyone has to eat. Everyone has to have a chelik. But what does it mean? So, the shayla, if you eat mishuchin gavoya. Now, what does that mean? Eat mishuchin gavoya. God invited me to his table, and he's feeding me. And we got to understand what could he be feeding me. When we come for the Korban Pesach, which we're all going to be mechuyev to come for, or Yisraelim, or when we make a shlomim, and we're going to have all Maisa, whatever, we're going to have the meat is going to belong to us, we're going to eat our meat. You know, you're going to have the fat on my steak. There's a lot of fat. I want to cut it off. I want to throw it in the garbage. Oh, no, my friend. That's kachim. That you better eat. There's a mitzvah to eat it. And we're thinking if you ate for it, you probably ate for a lav. Because you're not even doing the burning part on it. Now you want to throw it in the garbage. To your dog, you want to give it. Are you crazy? Okay. I'm going to make a bracha on it, and I'm going to eat it. And not only going to eat that, I'm going to eat the stuff I don't normally want to eat in my house. I don't want the chuck. I don't want the liver. I don't want the milts. I don't want the brains. I don't want the things there. You're going to eat that stuff. And you're going to make a bracha on it. How do you do that? So the Shiva used to give a mashal. If, for instance, a guy got invited, a Hasidic guy, we're going to preach that better, would go to the Rebbe, invited him to have tea by him. Come for tea. Or, if you want to be, not the President of the United States invited you to have for tea. A private tea with him alone. Just you and him. Right? And let's say you go to the Rebbe, you go to the President, you come out of the meeting, and your friend is there, and he says, what do they serve over there? You know, and then he says, oh, we had tea. Tea, you don't even like tea. You always used to say, you know, tea, I'm not sick, well, I don't want tea. You know, so what do you eat tea for? What do you mean tea? You like tea? That was the most, by the Rebbe, the Ruchbos, Ruchnistic time, it was so spiritual. I didn't even know I was eating it. The president, the awe of being in the office at that time, wow. I was thinking, but who are you eating it from? Shulchan Gavoyakoch, you're eating God's. You're on God's table today. So, depends how you eat it. You eat it differently. I'm not eating the food anymore. I'm not eating the steak. I'm eating something from God's table. That's what you do. And if we really think about it, it really should go from the shlomim to all the food I have. You know, sometimes you make fun of things. Like a bittul. You bittul on what? On God's food that He gave you? Something like that. Okay, so there's a point that the person has to realize what he's doing when he eats or when he rejects food. You have, and then goes into the end of chatos. Chatos is different reasons, I guess. Why one of them is even very simply to show what happens to the chatos, the shrita and all that stuff, really to a chayte that should be happening. That's the kapora. There's like when you say when you would make kaporas of Yom Kippur, says Zeh hatana go yerchul mitzvah, and I go to Chaim Aruch or whatever it is there. So there's an exchange. So whatever is happening to the chicken, it should have happened to me, and this is somehow a kapora for me. So the same thing with chatos. You deserved an einish. Why did you deserve an einish? I didn't mean to do the aveira. If you meant to do the aveira, you need tshuva. It doesn't help you anything, or malchus, whatever we're going to give you. But there's no forgiving unless you do tshuva. By chatas, you bring the korban. Like you didn't mean to do the aveira. What am I going to bring a korban for? The idea is because the reason you did the aveira is because you're always thinking about the aveira. We'll talk about different things in different places, but that's what normally happens. If you wouldn't, I'll give you like Shabbos. The one of the reasons that muktzah, the Rabbana made it in a muktzah, is that you shouldn't think at all about your business, about anything. First of all, let's think about the business itself. A guy is, let's say, playing with a hammer, right? And he says, "Oh, I remember that there's a nail sticking out in my bathroom door. I just put my jacket on it the other day. Oh, I better get the hammer." He runs in to fix it. Oh, it's Shabbos. Right? So you shouldn't forget yourself. That's one Shabbos. think a simpler pshat would be simply if I think about my business. In other words, because when you're holding your hammer, you think I'm a carpenter, I'm a this or whatever, I'm in construction, or a different thing, and you're thinking about your business, and I had this deal, and I have this, and that thing there. Shabbos, the world disappears. I don't have no shaykhs with the world. My business is gone, the telephone is off. This is that. I am alone. I'm friends, me and God, that's it. And there's a different world out there, and therefore it's a different relationship all of a sudden. That's one of the things. So therefore, if you were chayt to be shoygig, is you weren't careful. That's the main thing. Or it wasn't important enough for you. If you forgot it, it means it was a time on you. What did you forget it for? You forgot the law. Anyway, so it tells you that there's different people. There's the Kohen that son has to bring power, but he only can bring a chatas only if he paskin the din b'toyis. If he made a din because he forgot it, he doesn't bring a korban. He's not forgiven. He's that big a person that he can't forget. He can't forget and can't claim he didn't learn it. He has to know everything. He is the top ruchnistic man we have. He has to be on top of everything. He doesn't have an excuse. But what happened? He passed it the wrong way because he made an error. Oh, then he has to bring a power. An error a person can make in learning. That he can make. He thinks it's mutter. Okay, good, fine. Nobody can eat from that, but you see that the type of korban he has to bring. Klal Yisrael also brings such a korban. Why? And nobody can eat from that korban. That korban, you burn the food outside, the kohanim can't eat from it. It's too holy. From the Klal Yisrael does it, that means the Beis Nagadol paskin the wrong way. They bring such halacha. Also the same thing, that they have to bring this korban, this par, and nobody can eat from it because you can't eat from something that Klal Yisrael was chayted from. And the Nasi comes along, he brings only a male soil, and whatever it is, and he brings a korban, and he's different because he represents, he's like the king. He represents something higher than the regular person, and because of that, the person relates to him differently. What about a regular person? So he has, he eats from his korban, people are people, and whatever it is there, and they bring differently. But it says a fashad lesson over here by the kesef, that if he can either bring a soyer, a female soyer, or female kesef. Now, we do know in Hebrew, the word keves and kesef mean the same thing. A keves means a sheep, a young sheep, and a keves means a young sheep. And Raji here says the Lashon somewhere, I don't know where he does, that they're interchangeable. What do you call it? And you'll see we find it like this. You have sometimes has kesef and sometimes has keves. I want to claim there's a difference in the thing there. And I'll show it to you from the posik that I want to learn it from. He's talking about the kispa. We talk about the female sheep. So he puts the word, before he starts for kispa, he calls it keves. And now he calls it over in Kesef, in the same parsha. Says this, and I want to tell you, when it's chulin or kachim kalim, the word the lashon is kesef. When it's kachim kadoshim, it's keves. I try to answer all the different ones. I don't remember if we answer it in this sefer or not. But we try to answer all the ones, and throughout Tanakh, wherever they have these different lashonis, that it should show it. And even in this seder, we'll have it a few different times, and we'll try to answer it again over there. Let's take by the Oila, I think is the first time we have it. And that's kesef, not keves, right? So you see, he uses the lashon thing there, and that's already kodesh kadoshim. We're talking about an oila. So that's what I'm saying. That's because he hasn't consecrated yet. It's chulim, so therefore he uses that lashon. Over here by the shlomim, it's because it's kachim kalim. Okay, there you go. Okay, now we'll continue with that the thing. Nefesh kisechto v'shem okel. Then he goes into an inyan what's called a chatos, but it's a chatos oila v'yared. There are 3 levels in the chatos. In other words, you can bring a animal, or you can bring birds, or you have to bring or a mencha. But there are 3 levels to forgiveness. Why does the Torah give you 3 levels? Doesn't do by regular aveira. Why does it do by these 3? There are 3 aveiras that are it. What are it? He said to Shema Ola. He heard something. You know, he swore. He touches something tamei, and he goes into Megdish or something. Or a guy that swears fools, he knows to say witnesses, he doesn't say it, or if he swears. He swears. You have kids swear all the time. I promise you it's true. Who asked you? Why are you telling it to me for? Right? Because you want to be proven for it, so it's like swear. Does he think promise and swear is the same thing? Or maybe someone told him, no, that's only a neder, so you're allowed to do that. Swear you're not allowed to do. So use the word promise instead of swear. It's the same thing with the way he's used. Okay. So these are the 3 things. People don't want to get involved, so they don't want to say witness on a lot of things. 2 friends got involved in a transaction deal. Leave me out of it. 2 friends had a car crash. What does he always say? No, I don't, leave me out of it. I'm asking what you saw. You used to say what you saw. Okay. Tumah, everybody gets tumah, and they forget the tumah, and they may touch something, and they forget about that, and whatever. And as they swear false, people sometimes want to justify their words. So they always use the word I swear, which doesn't mean too much. So those 3 things, if you did the aveira, you have to be in korban oila v'yared. Why? Because I think, since it's something that's so common to do, we have to have a forgiveness for them. A regular shaygig is not common. A person doesn't do an aveira normally, even a shaygig. But if you did something by tumah, where I'm doing what I normally do, and I just forgot what I did, that I was tumah, that already is more common. So it says over here, again, these are kodesh kadoshim, right? So the lotion that should be over here should be a keves. And it says, Vehevi is Hashemoy, if he brings from a behemoth, Geshelach me'elvis v'adeh shechot, Vehevi is Hashem Hashel Hashem, Osh v'Hashem ha'chatot shechot, Nekeva min hatzoin, Kispo, Kesef. So again, I say, since it's so common, and the Torah made so many ways of trying to get a kapora, they're treating it like Hochim Kalam. In other words, because there's so many of them that are going to be brought, that people forget that the Kedusha of it, that it's Kodesh Kedoshim. Let's go down the thing. Okay. Then you have what's called the Osho. The Torah here talks about 5 of them. There are Oshomim that come in, they're like a Chatas. They come from Avera, with the specific Averas. And you have sometimes in Hashem, You have a Mitzvah, you have an Osham, you have an Osham Shivcharufa, and Shafar, that there's different Averis also that an Osham comes for. Osham Nazir, as was the 19th. So these are in the Korbanos, what they call Osham, for a type of Avera that's somehow involved in there. So there is an Avera factor in there, and that's why, but it's not a Chatos in the sense of black and white, the same thing. So here is what they are. There's 5 Hashamim. So the first one he mentioned about is Kisimo Mal. If you used Hegdish on purpose or by accident, it doesn't really make a difference. You misused Hegdish. Nefesh Kisimo Mal v'Schota b'Shgogo. So because Hashem. Yeah, so I guess it raises your chutzpahdik in what do you call that? You're not allowed to touch hegdish. Okay, that's right, it's allowed. But over here, that you did b'shoigeg. So here, because hegdish is so holy, so you have to bring an aisle. It has to be worth 2 shkolim, which is comparatively a lot more money. At least they'll put a price on it. There's a minimum that it has to be, and he has to return it. And he has to return it with a 5th more. Okay, that's it. Done. Bad guy or not, I really didn't realize it was Hegdish. I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was, but I didn't realize it was Hegdish. Okay. Then you have a din of Oshim Toli. Oshim Toli is that there's got some machlekes of how you avo into Oshim Toli, but it has to be. I didn't know for sure if I did a chatos, but I could have done a chatos. On that, I got to bring an Oshim Toli. But if I learn in the end, I brought that I was chayt, I'm going to have to bring a chatos. But at the moment, my chet is an Oshim Toli. What's the chet of an Oshim Toli? So it says, and the Oshim has to bring the same thing. It has to be 2 shkolim. All Oshims has to be 2 shkolim. Why does an Oshim Toli have to be 2 shkolim? A chatas itself could be, Gemara's Oshim is danka. It could be a penny, an Oshim, if there was such a possibility. But I mean a chatas. But an Oshim got to be 2 silver coins. Why? So the Bali Musa used to always say, because they teach you that it's also an Avera. Because the odds of a person admitting the fact that he did a Meir by accident is always, it probably was okay. It was probably Mumuta. So therefore they don't want to recognize. I'm making it cost you to recognize that. That's the way they normally learn. So the Shiv Zatzal, and you can learn, maybe they both mean the same thing. Shiv Zatzal told me that the reason that you need it is because of not knowing what you did is in itself a big avera. A chatas I did an avera. I know what I did. So for that you did a thing. You got to do tshuva. You got to bring your chatas. But if I don't know what I did, that means I wasn't paying attention. I didn't care. I didn't think this thing, that's a worse Aveira in a way, because you're like a staple about it. So therefore you got to bring 2 shkolim. And the way I say why it could be the same thing means I want to impress upon you what what you did wrong. In other words, you think you did wrong, so either I want to impress upon you that is self is an Aveira, or the fact that you're not realizing what you did is the biggest Aveira. Okay, so that's Roshim Toli.
Is the Etzem Avera worse or just...
I'm sorry?
Is the Etzem
I don't know if the Avera is worse or the fact that we're trying to teach you how bad it is, because I didn't really do anything wrong, so what are you going to pay me for? It's Ashkofet. But Ashkofet will give you a bigger problems usually than the Chet itself. The Chet is, I did something wrong. Well, the shkof is your whole mindset is up the creek. It says over here, then you have the Hashem Gzelis, right? And how he explains this, all different kinds of, but it's a very funny thing. Let's look at the Lashon. Nefesh ki sechto u'mo'alo mal b'Hashem. Before it said ki simul mal, just that you were moil on something. Maybe something's hegdish. You were moil on it, you used it, misused it. Here it's more b'Hashem. You misused God. What do you mean you misused God? Meaning, I did something that's missing in God now. I did something to make God is missing something. What does that mean? So it says, what is it by Gezel? What does Gezel mean? It gives you a whole bunch of them. Gezel, in other words, any way you stole from someone, that's called Mo'al B'Hashem. The fact that you're taking someone else's is because you believe God was not going to give it to me legally, right? That's why I have to take it myself. That means two things you're denying. One, God can't give it to me. And secondly, you're saying I can take something that God doesn't want to give me. Both things are kfir. And therefore, I'm Mo'al B'Hashem. I'm listening God's powers. I'm listening who God is. And that's a big Avera. It's also, this Lashon is used again in Parshas Maloischo, by Gezlager. And it's also, Shiva uses it in Parshas Mishpatim, that the first Avera, after that's discussed, after Matan Torah, is Gzeila. That's because Eved Ivri is only for Gezel. And because it's Bezdin is settling him, so it's because of Gezel. So that's what the Torah is telling you about. Yeah, and there it's telling you even worse. A guy is a Gazlan, not only is he a Gazlan sold for an Eved, but what does it mean being sold for an Eved? Because being sold for an Eved is not a big punishment. You land up on the better end of the deal. If there's only one in the house, you get it. Everything is, and they can't make you work like an Eved. They can only give you the real good choshev position. So what's the avla being an Eved? The idea is your dignity is taken away from you. Before you had Kedushas Yisrael, because you're a Jew, you're also to live with a Shifra Kedanis. Even though technically she has certain Jewishness, she has mitzvahs kisha. So she's part of Klal Yisrael in that sense. But she's a Shifra, and I can't live with her. Once you're an Eved Ivri, you can live with her. That means you lost your dignity. You're not a full member of Klal Yisrael. And that's what the Torah is trying to put against you. And it's something that you have to feel. We want you to feel that loss of that. It's not that you just stop stole, because that's the attitude people feel. What do you want from stealing? Stealing is a normal avera. I wanted what the guy has, and I didn't have it, I took it. Right? It's a simple reason why I steal. I don't make too much lumdus in it. Yeah, but that they steal is because you feel you can't get any other way. That's the avla. That's the avla. And that has to be put across. As I said, if we would have taught this to kids, that, that first of all, the two things, everything I have is from God. And secondly, that stealing something from somebody else is something that is denying God. The kid is going to say, I don't deny God. The kids, the biggest by minim are the little kids. They can trust anything. And you tell them the thing there, they would have been able, they never would have become Ganovim. But if I don't learn this with them, I don't teach them this Ashkofe, of course they can become Ganovim. Why not? I mean, people have values, and they grow up from the time they were little kids. They grow up with those value systems. What they saw in the house, that's the way they live. And that's the thing there. So therefore, that you stole that from them, and that's the time I think that goes on them. And this goes. Those are like in this set we had a couple of them, like the three of them, or something like that. Also about the fact that that it doesn't mention how much you give, whatever it's so how you give them, what you give them, what you kavon giving, things of that sort. Also, there's an Indian we didn't, I didn't stand on for it before. It uses the Lashon, Yisharech Techech Hashem, by the first Oila, right? What's the Lashon? Right? Oila Yisharech Techech Hashem. V'emen atzoin kol bonoi, what do you call it? Oilahu Yisharech Techech Hashem. What's Oilahu? And same thing about the bird, Oilahu Yisharech Techech Hashem. The reason is they're telling you, the first we don't have to tell you Oilahu, this is an Oilah, because that's the name of an Oilah. I'm giving you the best I got, the most money it cost me, a buckle. But what happened? I don't have a buckle. I only have tzain. I only have what he called. And therefore, maybe it's not as good as a buckle. It tells you Oilahu, it's the din of an Oilah. And that's the same Oilah as the buckle is. Yisharech Techech Hashem. That's the part that it tells it to you. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody. I just want to say next Shabbos I will be in California. I won't be back. I don't think I'll have arrangements over there that I'll make it. So we won't have a share next Shabbos. The Shabbos after that, the Friday after that, I believe is Yontif. So that one won't be. And the third one I think is going to be Ischachag. I really don't know what to tell you about that one yet, so maybe we'll leave that one alone for the moment. But for the next two, it's not Negea. And we have a good Yontif, a good Shabbos, a good Yontif. Everybody be well. Hatzlacha Rabba.